All right, people. It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best new metal adjacent podcast from two dudes who were there back in the day. I am one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how is it going?
Oh, great.
Did you see the video clip of the Fox 29 news guy wandering around drunk in New Orleans where he
No.
crashed? There was a different reporter there for like 5 o'clock in the morning. She was shooting on Bourbon Street. And this one guy comes rolling up with a gang of girls. He's hammered. He's got beads on his neck. He's drinking a grenade. Like it was,
Nah.
I'll send you the video. It's
Oh
wild.
wow.
It's wild. Yeah, we're getting ready for the Super Bowl. And joining us from across the pond, from right outside of London, Ethan Bellinger. Ethan, thanks for joining.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you me for having me on the show. It's gonna be a
We are
blast.
we are stoked. We are stoked. So this week, everybody, this week we're going to talk about an album that, believe it or not, we have never talked about, which is kind of odd considering it was part of that new metal explosion. And we're talking about California, Los Angeles, 1995, Crazy Town, and their debut, The Gift of Game. Tim, I'm going to start with you, dude. Were you a fan of this back in the day?
No,
So I'm
not at
gonna
all.
Okay. Uh, would you say you're a fan of it now
Let's
without
wait
going into
till
detail?
let's wait till the end of the episode and you'll find out.
Okay, okay. Ethan,
Okay.
how about you? How'd you come into this album?
Um, I think I discovered this album back on the internet. So I was searching for a band that sounded like your biscuit without actually whipping them off. And Crazy Town was one of them. I listened to one of their song Toxic, I think it was called.
Okay.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. I know they're Butterfly, all that stuff, and I thought, oh, okay. So I got that album and I got Dark Horses on Christmas in 2019 or 2020. So yeah, I was a fan of
Okay.
that album and Dark Horses.
You said you got it in 2020. How old are you?
Um, I'm 21 now,
Oh, okay.
so I was probably about 15 or 16 years
Oh,
old.
wow. Okay.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Tim. Say it. Go ahead,
No, I
say
was
it.
just curious.
No, I'm waiting for you to
well,
say, Jay, you could be Ethan's dad. I'm waiting
you
for that.
well, you could. We both could be. So,
That remark is always exciting when Tim drops that one. So
Yeah.
so my story with this album was this is it came out in 99, right, Tim? Was it 98
yeah,
or 99? November 99.
November 9th, 1999.
So my college roommate, I used to drag him with me to shows all the time because he had a car and I didn't. And the rule was I paid for the ticket, I paid for gas, he'd take me. And he was a hip hop guy. Like he loved hip hop and Toad the Wet Sprocket. We're not gonna fucking get into that right now. Shout out to my boy Griff. And at one point, I think I was living with him for a couple weeks in between apartments. And he's like, yo, have you checked out this band? It's pretty good. And he put this shit in. And I'm like, what is this? Because off the bat, it's got the new metal music, but it's
Mhm.
two dudes rapping. Like, and this is like in hip hop, there were a couple of bands in new metal, I should say. There were a couple of bands that tried to do that hip hop sound that really leaned into the rap. This was one of them, and I was like, "Yo, what, Griff? What the fuck is this?" So I remember listening to this, and at that time, I was like, "Yeah, it's okay." Then I remembered seeing them. It was Ozfest 2001
Oh
where
yeah.
they were on the main stage, and they covered "Refused," New Noise. And I was in the back with a whole bunch of other old heads who knew what they were listening to, looking at the guys next to us like, man,
What?
this is what is this? This is something,
Yeah,
right?
what is going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. What is this? But so, the whole thing happens or whatever. And I this was one of those albums that even though I made fun of this band, I came back to it all the time
Hmm.
because I truly do believe, as far as the new metal catalog goes, this is really one of those truly unique bands. They were truly doing something a little bit different. And to me, I still think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, for when it came out, I wouldn't really, I wouldn't really consider it something different because when you do listen to it, it's kind of like I feel like at the time you could say it was a rip of like three other things, but
Yeah, I
I
can see that.
I think right now though in 2025, this is a record where people are going to find and be like, oh, this is really good. I mean, this is one of
Yeah.
them nostalgia records for people like, you or me. But like kids just getting into it now, like this is like a whole new thing for them. So I could see the argument from both sides on this actually. But for
Yeah.
me, since I'm 41 years old and I was 17 when this came out, I was in the poison the well at the time. So it's like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
it's a little different for me compared to Ethan, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's just so I will say, Ethan introduced Dark Horse, right? I do think Dark Horse is the better albums. It's more solidly written. It's got a better sound. I think that the heavier songs actually sound much better. Like I actually think that was the album they probably wanted to make, and
Oh yeah.
it's a shame that it never got. I mean, at that point, the taste has changed. Tide has gone out. Pick your analogy, and it wasn't working anymore. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I go back to this and I really, really, I giggle about it. Tim, you got any good history or notes on this one?
Oh yeah, of course I do. All right,
Go for it.
release November 9th, 1999 on Columbia Records. Apparently the band and label fought over something about the band's website. Like the band wouldn't give Columbia the rights to their website or something. So then Columbia said like, all right, you're not allowed to use our logo on your record, which is super weird.
Very, very weird. But I guess of the time, right? Like the internet was the thing. So I
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
guess.
was gonna say. Like the websites thing back then was huge because you got the traffic to it and
Mhm.
record sales. But you would think like, all right, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of weird to me. I didn't read too much into it, but I got the gist of it. It's just basically Crazy Town and Shifty being ridiculous about it is what I got out of it.
Oh yeah.
All right, produced by Josh Abraham. So I'm sure a lot of people listening know who Josh Abraham is. He's done records for like Weezer, Linkin Park, Slayer,
He's done
Alkaline
tons of
Trio.
big name stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, big artists, but there are some bands right there people would recognize. Sold 2.5 million copies worldwide, 1.6 million in US. You
Let's
had
think about that for a
Butterfly.
second. Let's think about that. 1.6 million copies in the United States in 99, basically because of one song.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. One song.
Yeah.
It came out and it was just doing terrible. They put out a single after the first single
Toxic.
was Toxic.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
second single was Dark
Dark
Side,
Side. Yep.
Yep.
then
Offside.
Butterfly.
Yeah.
When Butterfly comes out, it completely just eclipsed sales like instantly. So that was a hit for the ladies right there. They love that song. I
Mm-hmm.
was just listening to the record again just to like get some notes on it. And Brianna was down here and she's like, "Oh, I know that song." I'm like, "Everybody knows this song."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we go through we'll go through some of the tracks. I mean, it is kind of wild that they sampled a forgotten Chili Peppers instrumental and turned it
Yeah.
into a
Yeah.
monster song for them.
Well, apparently he was good friends with Kiedis. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I saw somewhere where they just asked. They just
yeah.
asked, and the
Ah.
Chili Peppers were like, "Yeah, go for it, whatever." And then there was it was I think it was an interview with either Kiedis or Frusciante who said John Frusciante who said, "I really liked what they did with it. They did something different with how they looped it and stuff." So
Ah.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
the sales after that song were like monumental for the band, and then like it hit top 100, number one. It hit was on TRL like every
Oh,
five
it was all
seconds.
Oh
Shifty
wow.
was all over the place. Everybody had the chain, everybody had the hairdo. And I mean, let's be real here, right? He was a good-looking dude. He was ripped. He was covered in tattoos. Like he
Yeah.
was, if you close your eyes and picture new metal and you don't picture Fred Durst, you picture him.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I
Or
mean,
Chino with a pair of Dickies 3 sizes too big around his hips. Right? Like
yeah.
it's basically
E-
new metal, yeah.
Ethan, are you familiar with TRL?
Um. No, I
So
don't think so.
in the United States, there's you. I'm sure you know MTV, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so MTV had Total Request Live,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Oh.
was basically Carson Daly, right?
Yeah.
It was Carson Daly, and they would play like what was it, 10 songs?
Yeah, but it was all the songs that were most like you had an 800 number or something, right? Tim, you would call in and
Yeah.
request it and they would tally it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then remember we had the box.
Mm-hmm.
That was wild
Mm-hmm.
right there.
I remember the first video retired from TRL was Freak on a Leash,
Yeah.
which is kind of wild.
Yeah, but that was all over that was all over that. I mean, the box had it on constantly. I mean, VH1 at the time when they actually played music. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was that song was fucking huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if it wasn't for that song, this band completely flops.
I
Yeah, I
think
could
you're
see
right.
that.
I think they get forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I know early in the episode, but there is an interview, rest in peace to Shifty. Obviously, his demons got the better of him.
Yeah,
There was
unfortunately.
an interview he did with Toby Morse,
Yeah.
the One Life, One Chance podcast, where he was sharing his life story. And it is one of the most insanely entertaining things I've ever listened to. Like I literally was listening to it on the way to the airport one morning. It was like 4 in the morning. I was taking a flight for work. I remember texting Tim from the airport at like 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, yo, you have to listen to this episode. It is
Yep.
insane.
I listened to it twice.
He just had he had an awesome story. He had an awesome story. So, one of the knocks,
Has Ethan ever heard this?
you
Um,
heard it, Ethan?
I feel I have heard it. I haven't listened to it yet.
Okay.
Dude,
Okay.
Yeah.
the story with him swimming across that ocean thing,
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
like all messed up on is crazy, dude.
Yeah,
Wow.
that guy literally had he had a wild life.
Yeah. Well,
So one of the knocks about this band, which I think is unfair, is somebody made a remark that, oh well, this was a studio band put together by a label, where it truly wasn't. Like these
Nah,
guys
I wouldn't
literally
really.
go
not
on,
at
Ethan.
all.
Yeah, I wouldn't really consider them like a label manufactured band.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Oh,
Granted, they had a bunch of different people from different spots all playing in the band, but this definitely
yeah.
wasn't one. Hey, we need a bassist. Who do you got for bass? Yeah.
Nah, this was Shifty meeting Epic, right?
Yep. Yep.
He met
Well,
Yeah.
Epic
yeah.
at a recording studio,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure the story is he like was there and he was recording some band or something, and he like always liked his beats or something, and he went in and met him and like showed him a bunch of songs he written and wrote. And then they just started writing songs like one at a time. And I remember Shifty in that interview was like, "Yeah, we would write one song and then just get
Hmm.
completely fucked up on all types of shit."
Yeah, it was Brett. Brett was the guy, the skinny guy with the voice. Epic was the Rusta Peak was the guitarist.
Yeah, like they would
Yeah.
just get
Yeah.
messed up and write songs, and then they had the record written, and then the album came out. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't manufactured at all,
No, no.
No.
which is it's just wild. It's just wild because in the day of age right now, of like the internet, you could just make anything up and people will believe it anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the funniest thing for me about this band is the drummer, right? So the drummer was James Bradley Jr.
Oh
He
yeah.
he played on Chuck Mangione's single "Feels So Good," and everybody who's listening to this
Ah.
episode, watching it on YouTube, pause it, look up Chuck Mangione, Mangione, "Feels So Good." I know it's an instrumental, but you're gonna hear this and you're gonna go, "There's no way in hell that the drummer from this smooth jazz single that was all over the radio in the '70s played
Ah.
on Crazy Town," which is
That's
kind of
wild.
right? It's like having Don Henley sing backup for Korn, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Oh
where
wow.
where did this come from?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this band was really just a whole bunch of people that all gravitated together. And I mean, sadly, I mean we can't bury the lead here. DJ AM passed, the original
yeah,
DJ. The guitarist
Yeah.
passed he had a heart issue. Shifty recently passed. I guess his demons just got the better of him. But
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of this album. Like I still do.
didn't AM get in the plane crash with
Yeah, he did.
Travis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he was in
So
the with the guy from Blink 182, right?
Yeah, the
yeah,
drummer.
Travis Barker.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the craziest part about that is he survives the plane crash, gets sober, and then dies from an overdose. It's like, dude, you got a second chance at life, man. Like, I understand like the demons thing and all that, but like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
I would guess that he just that maybe the it truly is post traumatic stress,
Well,
right? Like it
absolutely. I
truly
mean,
is, right? Like I
Barker
mean,
It
couldn't
could
fly
be.
for years, dude.
yeah. I mean, I'd be fucked up. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
taking a flight in March and I'm nervous as hell.
I
You
don't blame
know,
you, dude.
it's kind of nuts. So the band puts. You're right. They record the album. They put it out. First single is Toxic Bombs. Second single is Dark Side Bombs. Butterfly takes off. They did a fourth single. So there was
Yeah,
a
they did.
fourth single off this album, Revolving Door, which isn't a bad song. I'm sure we're gonna get into it. But there in one of Shifty's interviews, he talked about how they, with the success of Butterfly, they really got pigeonholed because the fans that found them through just the radio and MTV wanted to hear Butterfly and more Butterfly.
Yeah.
And the fans that liked the stuff other than Butterfly wanted more of that. And they were literally stuck between two fan bases and they didn't know which master to serve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the same time though. It's like when you listen to Gift of Game, it wasn't too far off from Dark Horse. The songs, other than Butterfly,
Mm-mm.
it's not too far off. But I will say though, Dark Horse is the better record. I mean, it doesn't even come close. Gift
Yes.
of Game doesn't even come close. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It doesn't even come close for me. I think it's kind of, I think it's super generic to tell you the truth. There are some good tracks, but like, it's just, they were on a different level on Dark Horse. And I just feel
Yeah.
like they put down like the juvenile stuff on Dark Horse. You know what I mean? It was actually
Yeah.
like it's like a cohesive record. Not saying Gift of Game isn't, but you could tell that record was like, I don't want to say it was fueled by drug use because it definitely was, but was Dark Horse fueled by use? Probably.
I I think that was, if I remember the interview correctly, the interviews correctly, because I've listened to a couple of his interviews. I found him just a fascinating character. He talked about how this is the album that he wanted to make. It was heavier. It
Hmm.
was way more emphasis on rock and that metal sound. And even though I think I remember him saying that the label was like, you don't have anything really light on here that'll appeal to the Butterfly fans. And they were like, well, no, fuck it. This is what we want to do. And bump, bump, bump. Things land where they did.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the better album out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
mad.
It's one of,
I got some more stuff here though.
all right, go on, go on.
So did I say it sold? Yeah, so it sold
Yeah.
2.5. Butterfly hit #1 on March 24th, 2001. So right, it was like what, a week or so after the single comes out. That just goes crazy.
Mhm.
Album cover created by Shifty's uncle and father. Apparently them two did like a bunch of album arts for like artists back in the day, like jazz artists and R&B stuff.
Oh.
And
I have an enamel pin of that girl that you like put on your lapel. Like, when pins were the big thing, new metal,
Yeah.
new
Oh,
metal.
yeah.
I have one. I actually given it to shout out to my buddy Griff. I bought one for him. I'm going to see him in 2 weeks. Yeah, I bought one because I'm like, yeah, I should put that in my suit next time I get dressed up. See if anybody has any, start some conversations with it.
Album came to mixed reviews with people either saying it was a generic piece of trash or a promising debut in the vein of Limp Bizkit. So it was like a lot. From what I read over the last week or two, is most people hated it. Then when Butterfly comes out, they're like, "Oh, this is promising," and it's like, "What? Where did you come up with it being
Right.
promising all of a
No,
sudden?"
you still hate it, asshole. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
because back in the day, like, and me and Jay can attest to this, music critics and music journalists were the shadiest people ever. Because you got to remember,
Yeah.
back in the day, writing music journalism was, it paid the bills back then.
Yeah.
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 Nowadays, you ain't getting shit off of that.
Nowadays,
stuff.
you're just some
Yeah.
jerk off on Pitchfork who's got a shitty hot take. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back then, you actually had to have good hot takes where people would actually read. Like if you wrote for Rolling Stone or Revolver or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
know,
you were
any
you were
of them,
known. You had a name
you were
like
known. Yeah.
what's his name? He
Yeah.
writes for Decibel. Borovage. That
Yeah.
guy's been, or Borovage, I know, just butchered his name. That dude's been writing reviews for like 30 years.
Oh my
Yeah, I
God.
mean, back then, if you were a MTV jock or what were they called?
VJ.
Yeah, if you were one of them people, like you were like in infamy, man.
Yes, yes, you had a following, right?
Kurt Loder still gets talked about.
I mean, well, speaking of sad notes, did you see that Matt Pinfield just had a
Yeah, yeah,
stroke? What a
yeah.
shame. Yeah, hopefully
Oh yeah,
hope he recovers from that. But he was great too. He was always big into the pushing metal and that sort of stuff, which is kind of cool.
yeah,
Yeah, Kurt Pinfield had a really, really good rock show that he used to do all the
Mm-hmm.
time. He used to play
Mm-hmm.
a
yeah,
lot of good. Back in the day, a lot of people were always like trying to get past the thing where they could play music that was underground, and it was
yeah.
always like I don't know if like the UK had like radio like that, but like on Sundays in Philly, it would be like 7 to 10 p.m. and it would just be heavy, heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Yeah, they tried to sneak it in, or none. YSP from 11 to 1 on Saturday nights
Yeah,
was all like Machine
mhm.
Head and the heavier
yeah.
stuff, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, we had
Ah,
Y100 that would play a bunch of heavy stuff. DRE would play a bunch of heavy stuff, but like it never really eclipsed where like people got into it because Pinfield always tried doing that, where like he was trying to get like lesser known bands out. And I think right
yeah.
now the person that does that is Jose from Sirius XM. He's
Yeah,
big on that.
yeah.
Ah,
Jose's pretty good with bringing out newer, younger stuff and
Yeah.
introducing this stuff.
that's cool.
It's not all 80s. It's not all Pantera. It's some good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think right now though the people that bring out the stuff like that now is just podcasts like me and you, or like just anyone that does any music related podcast right now is
Right.
bringing out the underground. So
yeah.
Yes, yes. And then it's who do you take out on tour?
yeah,
Because I've noticed the bands that have a little bit of pop and they're starting to get noticed are starting to take out stuff that's not it's not a 3-4 banger tour of four names that could headline themselves. It's usually a decent mix of them up and coming underground stuff. So
Hmm.
you got to
we'll
look
take
too.
it.
Like in 21, they had the new metal revival tour. It was Crazy Town. Who else was it? Jay,
It was Crazy Town,
Flaw.
Flaw, Head PE,
Yeah,
and I forget who else it was.
it was like
Cold,
one other
maybe?
band. It might have been Cold, but it was like they were trying to get that back, and it just I don't know. It just didn't work because at the shift he was just wild at that
Well,
time.
I also
Yeah,
think, I mean, it was those bands are all known for if you're into new metal, you know who those bands are. You need like here's where System of a Down comes into play. We were talking about that before with Ethan and I were talking about that before you joined Tim. Like you need a band like that to draw in, for lack of a better term, the normies,
Yeah,
the people who may show
yeah.
up out of for a nostalgia reason, and then oh look, who is this band? Knock Loose. Oh, okay, kind of cool.
yeah.
What
Um,
else you got, Tim?
uh, uh, with people reviewing it, one even went to say it contains some of the most Neanderthal lyrics of all time.
Well, I think we could all admit there are definitely some '90s notes in here of like there was a how do I say this? How do I say this politically correctly? There were things said on this album, lyrical turn of phrases that in the 2020s would have had people poking through your garbage to
Oh yeah,
publicly name, blame, and shame you.
Like
yeah,
I'd fuck her if I was drunk or something.
Yeah, only when I'm drunk.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
yeah.
go. Album contains 14 songs, coming in at a little over 45 minutes. It also has 16 songs of 5 second silences with an outro track, and I didn't even hear the outro track.
It,
Are you guys familiar?
I listened to it only because it played through. Nothing memorable.
Yeah.
All right. The album went gold in Australia, Finland, Germany, New Zealand, Norway, Switzerland, and the UK, while going platinum in the US and Canada.
Wow, that's
Uh,
wild.
we already talked about the four singles. You had Black Cloud on there, which featured Jay Gordon from Orgy. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I
Hmm.
got for some album facts.
Here's some other random facts. The rapper on Think Fast is a guy by the name of Dirty Unit.
Yeah, that's right.
KRS
Uh,
One shows up in B-Boy 2000, which is the album's technically the outro, the last track of the album, aside from the
yeah,
outro and the hidden track. Um,
yeah.
all right,
Oh,
Tim.
that's the one with the website title.
Yes,
There's a
yes,
reason for that because they were poking fun at Columbia and just making that the song, which is hilarious
just kind of
actually.
wild. So, Tim, let me ask you, best song on the album? Do you have one?
Yeah, it's Black Cloud.
I kind of figured that. How about you, Ethan?
Ooh, probably B-Boy 2000, to be fair.
You know what? He's not wrong. That was my pick. That was my runner up.
Yeah,
I actually think it's a great song. It works, and they have an actual hip hop artist on it with them.
yeah,
Um, I gotta be honest. This is totally 90s. The best song on the album for me is "Lollipop Porn"
Why do you how did you know mine would be Black Cloud?
because Jay Gordon from Orgy, right? Like it's
Oh,
the
that's a
most
fair.
it's the most close to your taste, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
100% correct right
Uh,
there.
so let me ask you guys, worst song? Is there a song that you would drop? Tim's like half the album.
Pretty much, dude. Not gonna lie. It's
Ethan,
is
what do
he
you
is he
think?
there?
What do you
Probably
think, Ethan?
referring, probably referring doors, to be fair. I mean, it's not a bad song by any means, but it's just one of those songs where, oh, Butterfly's popular. When you make Butterfly 2.0 to regain that
That's
attention and
fair.
all that stuff.
That's
Yeah.
fair. It definitely is. This was, I think, this was them trying to cash in on some of the Butterfly mellowness,
Yeah.
right? Because that was that to me on my note is this is the next mellow single logical choice after Butterfly.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll
And
tell you
definitely
what. I
go
could
on.
go the rest of my life without hearing Butterfly ever again.
Oh,
I don't
I
mind.
I don't know about you guys. I didn't even
Yeah.
listen to it. Every time it came up, I fast forwarded
Oh
through it.
yeah, I
I don't
skip
need
it.
to hear it
Yeah, I
again.
skip it. I don't
I've
need to
heard
hear
I've
it.
heard this
Trash.
enough. Heard this enough.
It came on. She said, "Oh, I know this song." Click.
Think I will tell you the songs I would drop. I would cut players.
Oh
The
God,
next to
yeah.
last song, which is I don't dig it. I think it's because of the chorus, and
Yeah.
I actually don't like Hollywood Babylon. I think that's too slow for me.
Oh, fair
And
enough.
coming off of Only When I'm Drunk, which is a straight up 90s same vein as I Just Lie from Snot, right? I mean, how can you not laugh at that song? Like when you listen to the lyrics, like, yo, it's a head bobber. That's a
Yeah.
fun, smiling head bobber. Like, yeah, I definitely would be canceled if I tried to make this music in 2025. But I mean, and one of the things I will say about that song, we can talk all the shit we want about maybe this is put together by a label or this guy played on this or that and so forth. That song demonstrates that Epic has bars. The guy can rap. Like
Yeah.
his lyrics and his flow on that song are really good.
Yeah. Probably one of the few people in emo that can rap without sounding, what's the word for it?
Like like an imposter, like kind of fake or
Yeah.
cheesy. Yeah, he doesn't
Whack.
sound
Yeah.
cheesy. Whack. Yeah, talk about the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like the Tommy Yee, he doesn't do very good rapping, to be honest, on Method and
No.
Mayhem.
No,
You
no.
can definitely tell you can definitely tell that guy was just, oh, new bell popular. I'm gonna tromp on that train. I start rapping, we'll
Yeah.
get to my hairstyle, wear some back Jenkos.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
You
that was the thing about that time period, though. Everybody was just jumping on what was popular.
and
Oh yeah,
nobody,
definitely.
nobody was like, there were haters, but there weren't like nowadays. I think the internet makes it easy to be a hater.
Oh
Now,
yeah,
back then, it
definitely.
was just like, yo, this guy talks shit. Like, eat a dick. I'm Tommy Lee. I'm on stage with spikes and ripped jeans. And Tim, we didn't do a deep dive in Methods of Mayhem, did we? We did it in defense of. We didn't do a deep dive though, did we?
That's good enough.
Yeah, I don't know. Dude, I'm sorry. There's some heaters on that album. But
Ugh.
so like when I go through this album, right? Like, and we're
Yeah,
not gonna go through track by track. Toxic starts out with this obnoxious, sneering, nasally vocal, right? And
yeah.
they're literally setting the tone. I actually think Fast was a great choice as a second song,
Mm,
because it goes full speed. You have hip hop on it. You have the DJ scratching. It actually really, really fits. Um,
hmm.
Dark Side takes it to like, it's got that vocoder kind of chorus. It's like more like a Carnival Funhouse, if that
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And then you go into Black Cloud, which is Jay from Orgy. So right there, he lends it some legitimacy by showing up. Because at
yeah.
this point, Tim, was that album out?
What?
Was Candy Ass out yet?
Yeah, Candy Ash came out in '98.
No
I
shit, really?
think it did. I'm gonna look it up right
Yeah,
now.
I think so.
I'm gonna be the Jamie real quick. Yeah,
Pull that up, Jamie.
1998.
Yeah.
Yeah, Candy Ass came out August 18th, 1998.
And they're a California band too, right?
I don't, I believe so. Yeah.
So speaking of, we should have really had Toby Morse on to talk about the interview. Um, in the interview with Crazy Town, they talked about how, the band has been around since '95 in LA.
Oh.
Shifty told some story about they were practicing or something, and all these people were like, yo, you got to check out this band. It's across the street in this other studio. So they went across the street, went into this studio, and the band that was playing was Korn. And apparently the
Oh.
room was packed, and it was all these people listening with their mouths on the floor, like, yo, what is this? Um, which I mean is Tim and I can remember, like that was it was like a bomb went off. It was like
Yeah.
a bomb went off when that album came out. And then
Yeah.
Blind and then Shoots and Ladders, and they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, so I mean, I get why you went with Butterfly as a single, right? It's usually your commercially viable, the most
Yeah.
accessible song. And then you follow that up with Only When I'm Drunk. I get drunk and stumble to the phone to conjure up a bitch to bone when I'm alone. Like that's the opening line of that song. It's like,
Isn't only when I'm drunk an alcoholics cover though?
Yeah, it is.
is it?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's a
Huh.
cover. You
Yeah.
remember the alcoholics?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, they put out a lot of good stuff back in the day.
I
Shit,
did not know that.
91 they came out.
Wow.
Man, I
Yeah,
did not
that's
know that. Now I feel
wild.
like a schmuck. But
That's all
then
right.
so that now the album gets a little teetery, right? So you
Yeah,
get
Walkie.
Hollywood Babylon, right, which gets slow.
Yeah.
Uh, Face the Music, which is not bad. It's got a fun chorus, right?
Yeah.
Lollipop Horn, which I think is the best song on the album, right? I mean, that is a head bobber. I'm sorry. I love it. Revolving Door. I don't think Ethan's wrong. Like, this was a mellow song where this is them not trying to get into their feelings, but kind of be seductive. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
And then you go with Players and then B-Boy 2000.
Yeah.
And
And then
the,
crazytown.com.
the guitar riff on B-Boy 2000 is a great riff. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Almost like a Helmet type of staccato riff. It's fantastic. Somebody there just
Yeah.
said, "Did you just compare Helmet to Crazy Town?" And there's gonna be people with on their feelings in the comments.
We
Yeah.
sure did.
So, am I the only one to see these guys live? Tim, you never saw them live?
No, I'd never have, no.
And I actually,
Um,
to be honest, I saw them by accident. It was Ozfest. It was not intentional.
I was gonna say maybe I did see them at Ozfest and I just couldn't give a shit back then. I probably did to tell you.
It
I
was
was at like
2001.
oh yeah, then I've seen them. I just don't remember. I definitely was at 2001 though.
That was the year that they gave out free tickets if you pre-ordered Iowa
There
from
you
Sam
go.
Goody.
Oh.
And they actually did two New Jersey dates that year. They sold so
Mm.
many, they did one in early July and then one in August, I think it was.
Well,
Because
and if it was Camden and what?
it was Camden and Camden. They did two shows.
Oh, it was both Camden.
Yeah,
Okay.
they Camden and then routed back because I think with the free tickets they were doing through Sam Goody and Tower Records and a whole bunch of other places, I think they sold so many that they had to do multiple shows. I missed American Head Charge because they played the second show. They were off the tour by the they were on the first show. They were off the tour by the second show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about the well the website. Crazy Town refused to cede their official website to Columbia Records as per the contract clause. The record label barred the group from advertising it on the album's artwork. The band circumvented the ban by adding a last-minute outro to the album titled after the website crazytown.com, in which the URL is repeating multiple times. So I have to look
that's
more into that, but
that's kind of
it's.
wild.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, we can't ask them about it. So it's
We
funny too because
yeah.
when we first started this show, we had like a master list of like artists we would try and get on. He was definitely one of them, and I think we tried getting in touch with him. It just never worked out.
Yeah, and it never for whatever reason it never materialized.
Yeah.
Which
That's
would have been
unfortunate.
cool if you think about it. It would have been a great because we probably would have had a great conversation with the dude.
Oh yeah, he would have been fun to
Oh yeah.
chat with. He would
Yeah.
definitely have been fun to chat with. I mean,
I
but for
I
those listening,
noticed.
go on, Tim.
I'm sorry. I noticed in a lot of his interviews before his death, like it always seemed like people were trying to like get over on him, like kind of like a smirky or snarky, like you're a
Yeah.
douchebag kind of thing. And like I always thought that
Yeah.
was corny.
Yeah, there were some times where you could tell people were trying to take pot shots. Like, yo, this dude sold millions of fucking records.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you're never coming close to what he did. Like
No,
yeah,
like even the insanity
yeah,
around him, like the parties, the drugs, the girls, the stories. Like, I mean,
yeah,
celebrity rehab. I
right?
mean,
Like, I mean,
yeah.
swimming. Ethan, you got to listen to the Toby Morris interview, man, where he talks about he swam from one island to another in the Caribbean because he was trying to escape rehab. And he like
Wow,
had a cut on his leg that was infected and it turned septic. Like it was, dude, it was insane. I was listening to this
that
like
sounds wild.
there was no way this is real.
and
But
then he like hangs out with some random dude for months,
yes,
just
he was a
getting
drug
drugs
dealer.
and
He was a
yeah.
drug dealer. Yeah, he was doing graffiti for the guy.
Wow,
Like, look, I mean, a life well lived, right? Yeah,
yeah,
he had demons and he had problems, but at the end of the day, when you breathe your last, you want to be able to say you had a good time and you had some stories, and
yeah,
that's I guess like may all of us be so lucky.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
the tours that they did before death, like he was just out of his mind, and that sucks.
yeah,
But it's like at least they tried it again. I'm
yeah,
never
I
gonna
mean,
yeah,
fault anyone that tries to get back in it.
mm-mm,
yeah,
mm-mm. The balls it takes to pick yourself up and get going again,
yeah.
right? I mean, knowing all the drugs and all the drama and all that, like,
Mhm.
God bless you, you know?
Yeah.
Tim, have you listened to, or Ethan, have you listened to any of their later stuff, like the stuff they put out over the last couple of years before they disappeared? Did you check out any of it?
Um, yeah, I did a few of them. I think I checked out the singles.
Was it
Some
any
of the
Um,
good?
singles were decent actually.
yeah.
I don't think I ever
What was that?
listened to them. I was gonna say, are they any good?
Yeah, some of them are. Some of them are. Yeah, this is okay.
Yeah, I forget the title of the one, but it's actually pretty good. It has like a black cover. I forget the hell it's called. So, excuse me, I'll have to look it up on Spotify real quick, Jay.
Were they the band that did the collab with the Dropout Kings? Was it them or was that somebody else?
They probably did.
Somebody did a collaboration with the
Maybe.
Dropout Kings. It might have been them or it was either them or Head PE. It was somebody on that tour.
Hmm.
But yeah,
No, it wouldn't surprise me if either of them did.
no,
Yeah.
God bless them. I mean, they put out an album. They got to play Ozfest twice because the first time they got thrown off, Shifty threw a chair through a window. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a story in of itself. All right. So, Tim, any other thoughts? Anything?
Um, like I just think this was a poor attempt at like a rapcore little new metal record. I I I get what they were going for, and I think they redeemed themselves with Dark Horse. But I just think this record is like to me, it's like a 5 out of 10. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it at all.
Oh, that's
I
fair.
don't hate it. I don't hate it. I just think that without Butterfly, this band doesn't even scratch the fucking surface of
Yeah.
a
Oh,
platinum record. I don't think they even scratch the surface of it. I don't even think Dark Horse comes out if you don't have Butterfly, to tell you the truth. I think
They get
as
dropped. They
sad as
one and
this
done.
is to
yeah.
say, yeah, sad as this is to say, they drop them. Shifty might even die of a drug overdose way sooner. Like I'm, it sucks to say that, but I think this is one of them bands where they hit at the right time with the right song. They sold what
Yeah.
they did. They got paid, and I think him getting paid was either the downfall of him or I don't know. It's hard to
Uh,
say. It could have been the downfall either way.
I think I when you have one of those personalities, right? That addictive personality, like you're gonna fight that your whole life. And I think
Yeah.
whether they got huge or not, he was always gonna have that thing he'd be dragging around.
Well, that's what
And
I
Yeah.
mean. Yeah, it's like,
and I think I mean, dude, that guy was on Starry Eyed Surprise. That song was
Oh, yeah.
huge.
but I
Yeah.
think he's in a lose situation either way. It
Yeah.
either flops and
Yeah.
he still is losing, or it
Or
got
he
big and
starts
he's
making a lot
losing.
of money. Yeah.
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 And then it gets really tough. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also think back then you hit at the right time because 99 was prime time for new metal. Let's be honest here. It comes,
Hmm.
94 you get
Yeah.
corn, but as the time went, 99 was prime time, dude.
Yes. I think the high water mark was probably 99, 2000, turn of the century.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And it was starting to wane by '02.
Yeah.
'03, it's on its last gasp, and '04, it's dead.
Yeah, I mean, new wave American metal comes out, it's
Yep.
done. It's
Yep. I
gone.
mean,
Metalcore
now
comes out.
you're usurped by Lamb of God, God forbid, Chimera, Shadows Fall, Unearth. That whole sound was taken off, right? And then you even had like you had E Town floating around, you had Glassjaw floating around. So it was just a different world. It was a different world.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the same. The cool thing about this record though is people like Ethan finding it like a couple years ago. Him being young and finding it. It's like it's cool for him because he's young enough where he can relish in loving it for a long time. Whereas people like me and you were like, yeah, been there. You know what I mean? So it's really cool for young people
Yeah.
to find this kind of stuff and be like, yo, this is really good. And then for the next 20 years, they're going to enjoy the record. It's kind of like, when White Pony comes out, it's like 20 years later, I'm still like, yeah, that record is so goddamn good. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
so I'm like kind of jealous of like where I like, there's some records I wish I could find today. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Can
just,
you imagine
Yeah.
experiencing like the first Dry Kill Logic now, today?
that's what I mean. It's
Because
like,
I mean, we've done that deep dive. That's an amazing album. It's a long album. It's full, and they do so much with it. Like if that came out today, instant blow up,
yeah,
instant
definitely.
blow up.
Hmm.
I believe that as well.
Yeah.
So, Ethan, what have you found? Let's go into like a little background on you with new metal. So you're 21 right now, right? That's what you said.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
have you when did you start getting into like new metal? Like what age did you find all of this stuff?
Um, I was 15 years old when I was kind of getting into new metal because my dad then had a CD of the third Limp Bizkit album
Okay.
and the debut of Linkin Park. Although my dad wasn't really a new metal fan, he didn't really hate it. He was busy with other stuff in life to not get into much the music scene at the time. And I think he owned like a few Disturbed album, but you guys hate Disturbed, so I won't mention that.
Not in my wheelhouse. Fair enough.
Yeah,
No,
Fair
you
enough.
can mention whatever you want, man.
yeah. I mean, they're all right, Disturbs. The first album though is it's okay. It's not good. It's not dog shit either.
Mm-mm.
I'll tell you what, for Disturbed though, like I really can't get past like the ooh ahs and all that stuff. Like I get it, I totally get it, but like there's some good riffing on them records. Like if you actually
Yeah,
sit and listen to them records, there's some good riffs.
yeah,
There's no denying that for what they do, it's good.
Yeah,
yeah,
Like whatever vein you want to call that, it's good. It's not for me.
yeah.
Don't enjoy it, but I can
yeah,
appreciate the talent.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I'm one person always says that like I appreciate any band that's trying to get out there and do their
Yeah.
thing. It's cool
Yeah.
because
yeah,
I love music. I fucking live and
yeah,
breathe that shit all day every day. So it's
yeah,
any band that does. I mean, obviously there's bands that I'm just like oh, but like if there's Disturbed's got riffs. It's just I'm
yeah.
not really a fan of his vocal style. So all
Fair
good though.
enough. Yeah.
What else? So what else got you into like what record did you hear and you're like, oh, I love this shit, man.
Um, let's see. I've heard. Oh God, it's probably 1,000. Machine Head, The Burning Red. That was really good. Well, even though
Mm-hmm.
this was technically Machine Head's solo album, which I don't really consider a solo album. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they went from groove metal to new metal. Not really that big of a difference. It's not
Yeah.
like they went from groove
Yeah.
metal to pop rock or any shit or boy bands or anything like that.
Right. If they went from like Burn My Eyes to like Crazy Town. Right. That would have been a shift.
Yeah. And I had this teacher in school who gave me like a list of new metal bands. One of them was POD Satellite, which is cool. Another one was Corn. And
Okay.
then there was weirdly Marilyn Manson, even though he's not really new metal at all.
Who Manson?
Yeah,
I could see why people put him in new metal though.
Oh yeah, he was a
yeah,
contemporary, right? He played the
yeah,
first touring Ozfest. He was definitely adjacent. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, I actually watched a documentary about him, about his accusations of all that stuff. Not that I'm super into it. I'm not usually into like celebrity accusation of abuse and all that stuff. It's just knowing, I think. When I was watching it with my mum, and the thing I found out about him was, ooh, and my mum was like, he's an awful person. Yeah, my mum wasn't really a big Manson fan, to tell you the truth. She would look at Manson in the Machine Machine Animals or that other album and look at him and go, who is that? That's Manson. No. Yeah, she
Right.
didn't. He didn't. She didn't like him.
You should see Mom's reactions in 1996
Oh,
to Marilyn Manson.
it was something. It was something. I
Yeah.
mean, when he came out with the was it the assless chaps at the VMAs and they
Oh
played the
my lord.
beautiful people, right? And I mean, ripping Bibles in half. Like he was I will always respect the fact that he was willing to go for it
Yeah.
because I mean, I had somebody drop the quote, if you want to lead the band, you got to wear the hat, got to
Yeah.
wear the funny hat. So anybody that's willing to get up on stage and truly go for it, like, good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, bigger balls than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Mind you,
back. Yeah,
my dad actually owned a few like Manson CDs, but really he never really owned like any Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, they were definitely adjacent, and they were
Yeah.
Nine Inch Nails was influential to all that. I mean, if you look at the stuff that's signed to Nothing Records, all that stuff. I mean, one could argue that Dos Dados by Papa Elite itself is basically a new metal album. Basically, one could argue it.
eh,
Proto, proto new metal, weird experimentation, different grooves. I
Yeah.
could argue that.
Yeah. I
maybe.
can see that.
So it was definitely weird. That's why it didn't land because it was so weird because it was so different.
Yeah.
So where are you right now with like? Because I know in the UK, like the scene over there with like the new sound is like pretty big right now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Is there where in the UK are you from?
Newby Botcher, which is outside of London,
Okay.
basically like a town. Well, not actually in a town, just basically a few drive from there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had someone on, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Jay? And
Yeah.
his accent was thick.
Yes. Yes. He was from up north, and yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
It was thick.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is it's a little hard for me right now, but
Tim's getting
I was
good.
getting it.
Tim's getting good knowing based upon the accent how far north on the island the guys actually
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, so speaking of that, is there any bands or where you're from where you're really liking nowadays? I mean, you got what do you got? Profiler, Black Coast, all that kind of stuff. What are you listening to that has that new sound?
Oh God. Um, there's this Polish band. I think they're called .bhp.
Yep.
Yep.
Now we're
Yep.
good. Drop Spike, we're good.
There
Not
you
from
go.
the UK, but what else?
I'm sure Orion will be pleased to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
God, I haven't really listened to like the newer new metal stuff, to be honest. I
I
should
know
really get to.
you I know you did you were on Detox's show, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, he's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah. John makes
Yeah,
my knowledge look pathetic.
yeah,
It's kind of impressive.
yeah.
All right, gents, we are at almost the 45-minute mark. It is almost 2 a.m. Ethan's time. So
Oh
I
shit,
am
I
going to
forgot
wrap
about
us
that.
up. So Tim, 5 out of 10. Ethan, what do you think? See if it's scored out of 10. What would you score this album?
Probably a 7.
Okay, that's fair.
Not not the best album, but got some good songs. Yeah, some of the others can be a bit, there. But at the end of the day, I don't mind about the lyrics too much. Music good. Some of the tracks hit or miss sometimes. Otherwise, not an amazing thing, but it's good if you like that sort of stuff.
I was actually going to go with a 7. I concur. He's right. There's some good tracks. There's some
Yeah,
dogs, but for the most part, I mean, if this is something you like, it's an enjoyable album. If it's not for you, well, it's none of it's going to be for you. It's a
yeah,
fair statement.
It's a good record for someone that's getting into new metal to check out. So
Yeah,
because I'll give you one thing, it's got a lot of the characteristics that you would hear in a bunch of new metal bands combined. So
yeah,
it's kind of a good starter record for people, in my opinion.
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah. That's fair.
Good introductory album. All right, so on behalf of Tim and myself, we want to thank Ethan for calling in across the pond. We look forward to having him on again, maybe next time at a time that's more amenable to his REM sleep patterns. We want to thank everyone for tuning in, watching, listening. 267-297-4627 is the voicemail. Newbreed_podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. Newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on r/new metal. Find us on our Facebook group. New episodes every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. New reaction vids every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Have your lunch with us. Enjoy Tim and I either really enjoying or talking shit on modern music. And until next week, it's a New Breed Podcast saying cheers.
Later.